And welcome to Perspectives. I'm Sam Jones, and we begin today with Blake Smith, owner of a little bit of history here in Tulsa, owner of the Admiral Twin Drive-In, celebrating its 75th birthday this year. Blake, a little history, my lad, if you don't mind. How did it get started?
Well, it was 1951. It was built as the modern air drive-in. And in the second year, they added the second screen and changed the name to Admiral Twin, just because it used to, there used to be a really long box office driveway that came from Admiral. And then in the 60s, 244 came in and they cut off that, and now we have to enter on the other side of 244. Mm-hmm. But they kept the name Admiral Twin.
I remember a time when drive-ins were the place, man. You could bring your entire family.
Yeah.
The little ones could go up front under the screen and play.
Yep.
And you could smell the food half a mile away.
It's still a little bit like that. It's not quite as what it once was. A lot of that's just societal things have changed. You know, back in the 80s and 90s, people would get there 2 hours before showtime.
Sure.
Kids would be running around, throwing the ball, frisbee, whatnot, playing, and they'd have picnics and whatnot. Now everybody's last minute. Everybody shows up right at showtime. You know, we'll be sitting there for an hour, not much going on, and then all of a sudden we get this big long line, and we're like, "Where you been?" You know, I mean, but that's just things have just changed.
Let me backtrack with you just a little bit. Your dad actually was the one that started it, right?
We didn't start it, but he bought it in the mid ~80s, and he bought it from General Cinema, and so it's been, you know, he or I since then. I guess he's been out of it since the year 2000, so I guess this would be my 25th year of actual ownership.
Yeah.
Just me, but yeah, been a long time. Like next year, 80. Let's see, 20. Next year will be my 40th year in some way out there.
I got to ask you this because I mean, the first question that popped into my mind: where were you when the fire started?
Yes. So I had another movie theater in Jenks called Riverwalk Movies, and I was there, and somebody called somebody that worked for me, and she started to scream, and I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "The Admiral's on fire." And so I had to drive all the way. It was the longest drive in my life from Jenks all the way around to get to the drive-in. And, you know, it went down pretty fast because it was all a wooden structure since 1951. But you know, that was a hard day. It was a hard time, but we made it through, and here we are.
Did they ever figure out what started?
They never did. You know, I don't know how much more they investigated it, honestly. I know this doesn't sound awesome on our part, but we didn't have any insurance on that because the premiums were going to be so high that we risked it for 25 years probably, you know, and then we lost that bet one day. And once they found out we didn't have any insurance, I'm not sure how much more they really did the investigation. I'm sure they thought that we burned it down for the insurance money, which we didn't. So.
The Outsiders, what's the connection?
Well, you know, there's a famous scene in The Outsiders. If you watch the first 10 to 15 minutes of that movie, they go to the Admiral. They sneak under the fence, and they go hang out at the old concession stand, and it's Matt Dillon and Ralph Macchio and C. Thomas Howell, Diane Lane. I mean, all people that went on to have great careers.
Sure.
But they were nobodies at the time, all very young. Rob Lowe, Tom Cruise. I mean, geez, just the cast is amazing, and so they shot that there. It was just a little before we were out there. It was 4 or 5 years before I was there. But you know, that's what we're kind of known for. Is, you know, people still pull up. I would say we get somebody every single day, and probably multiple people that come and take a picture during the day of the marquee and with the screen tower in the back. It's still a big deal.
Well, yeah, and then right here on Route 66.
Yep. So it's just, it's amazing that it kind of keeps on going. You know, now The Outsiders, you know, the house was saved, and then they've done a musical of the thing. I mean, it's really got a rebirth here in the last few years. So we're going with the flow.
I know before I even moved to Tulsa, I'd heard of the Admiral.
Yeah. Well, you know, the Admiral's kind of well known around the country. It used to be one of the busiest drive-ins in the country. Now there's not that many left, you know. There's still a couple hundred drive-ins, you'd be surprised. But, you know, at one time there was probably 5,000 drive-ins in this country.
Really?
You know, I mean, just in Tulsa alone, there was probably 6 or 7, you know. But the land value, you know, at some point you sell, the land's worth way more than the business will ever be. And so, you know, you have these legacy owners that have owned drive-ins and that's been in their family.
Yeah.
And it gets handed down to somebody. It's like, I don't know anything. I don't want to run a drive-in. So they sell it, you know. I can't say that I blame them, you know. But I still like running as a drive-in. I still think it's fun. So that's why we still do it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm glad you do. And I'm sure there are a lot of other folks out there that feel the same way.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely an icon in Tulsa, and you know, they're going away. The icons are kind of going away, and so we want to run it as far as we can go with it. But you know, I don't know how long drive-ins will last. Even the movie theater business has become very difficult. But you know, like I say, it's still fun, and people that do come out there really enjoy it.
Final question, you do have insurance now.
Absolutely, yes. We do, yes. We learned a lesson there.
Blake, I want to thank you for coming in.
Of course.
Shedding some light on it. And God, you're sitting on top of a gold mine as far as I'm concerned.
Thanks, man. Nice to see you again.
And I like what you're doing out there, boy.
Yep, thanks, bud.
Thanks for coming by.
Absolutely.
My next guest is Rob Gardenhire, Vice President of Development for Green Country Habitat for Humanity. Welcome, my friend.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Really good to have you here. You guys do a lot of really, really good work.
We do, absolutely. So, I mean, Tulsa's leading developer of affordable housing, so you can't do much more good than that, right?
Well, I'm telling you, you also have quite a track record
No,
of successful builds and sales.
yes, sir. Yeah, so we've been around since 1988, built over 650 homes during that time, and really in the last 10 years, we've really fast forwarded that. So we're excited about everything that's going on, but we've just been expanding our program to do new and different things from single family detached homes to townhomes to we've even got some pocket communities that we're getting ready for. So,
Is that right?
yes.
We can talk a little bit about the Studio 918 fundraiser. That comes up May 9th.
May 9th, right. So Rock the House is our annual fundraiser. We typically honor an artist that's passed and do kind of a tribute band, but this last couple of years we've done some genres. So last year we did a country event. This year, Studio 918, like Studio 54, we're dipping back into the 70s, disco groove and seeing what we can do. So it's a fun dress-up party, but it's our biggest fundraiser of the year, and it just moves us forward to helping more families in Tulsa.
Is it easily identifiable, each structure you build?
I think that we've done, in the past, I would say yes, you could say that's a Habitat home, but over the last 5 to 7 years, we've hired an architect, and we really try to model our homes with what the neighborhood is. So we want to fit in. We don't want to be different. In the past, we used to just have sheds in the backyard, so that was kind of a identifier. But now we're building at least a 1-car garage, and in some cases a 2-car garage. So it tends to blend more now than it did in the past.
So that means you have actually at your fingertips, you got architects, you got designers, you got it all.
We do. We've really been able to, as we've grown in the last 10 years since Cameron has been with us as our CEO, we've hired a vice president of construction who was building malls and apartment buildings and brought him in to scale what we've been doing. So 10 years ago, we built 1 home. Over the last 2 years, we built 122 homes. And this year, we're planning for 90, next year, 95. So we just continue to move on and try and scale this to serve the community.
How do you market them? There's got to be a marketing program. How does it work?
Absolutely, yeah. We have a robust marketing team who works with our homeowner services team that's the face of our organization with our homeowners. So our marketing team does a number of things, I mean, from billboards to radio to here today on TV to get the word out about what's happening. And the marketing piece that I think works for us is the down payment assistance that we have
So we're seeing now successful homeowners.
Homeowners, yes, sir. Yeah, and oftentimes we serve families of four, but here's a young homeowner in Wagner that we're seeing on the screen there. Sometimes we have single folks that are buying them. So we serve all ages. The Wagner folks were, I think, 21 and 22, buying their first home. And all of our homeowners are first-time homeowners. A lot of times, the first person in their family to have ever owned a home. So it's a really fun,
And it means
fun to be a
so
part of.
much for them to get that key to the front door.
No, it absolutely does. And it not only locks the front door, but it unlocks wealth.
You bet.
Because with our down payment assistance program, after 5 years of living in the home, keeping up with the bank and your mortgage payments, that down payment assistance is forgiven, and it becomes instant equity for the family. So there's no quicker way to generate wealth than through our program.
Anybody thought about a book maybe to document some of the homeowners that have passed through?
You know, our marketing team does a great job of capturing those stories and sharing those. So if you follow us on social media, on any of the platforms that you enjoy, you could certainly see some of those homeowner stories. But yeah, I don't know that we have a book. Don't give Cameron any ideas. We'll be creating a book.
Well, it'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
It'd be a great idea, as a matter of fact. You know, there was a time when I was growing up, when folks who did not have a home did not have a future for a home.
Right.
That's changed.
No, it really has. I mean, I think that across the housing continuum in Tulsa, we have folks like Tulsa Housing Authority serve, Section 8 housing, and then we have some low income rental units that are now available. So it puts those folks in lower income bands, not in a cost burden situation in their home. Mm-hmm. And then as you continue to maybe further your career and the job opportunities increase and your hourly pay or salary increases, you're able to move to us, which we're really at the top end of the continuum, but still, affordability in mind. All of our partners and sponsors at Rock the House help us, keep those costs down so that we're able to provide that down payment assistance, which is a huge hurdle to most families.
Boy, no kidding.
We still ask the families to bring 1% to the table when they close, so they've got some skin in the game.
Yeah.
But no, it's a great formula.
Well, I want to thank you, Rob, for coming by, sharing things with us, and down the road, do it again.
Absolutely, appreciate the opportunity.
You're a good man. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, good, and they do say a lot of things.
All right.
All right.
Short break. We'll be back with more, and you're going to get a kick out of this. Stay with us. Finally today, we're talking with Dr. Kenneth Hicks, Professor of History and Political Science here at Rogers State University. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
How do I approach this? There's a picture going around out there that shows the current occupant of the White House in clothing that would match the time in which Jesus Christ lived.
The light of God emanating from his hand.
Exactly, and he's got his hand on a person who's clearly ill. Yeah. Thoughts on that?
Well, as a political scientist, I'm always interested in what causes people to do the things that they do. And I hearken back to a prayer breakfast about 10 days ago where an evangelical pastor and supporter of the president named Paula White basically equated President Trump with Jesus and how his persecution and his overcoming demonstrates his Christ-like qualities. And I honestly think that stuck in his head. I think he thought that it would be something that would work to his advantage. It quickly obviously, when we think about what blasphemy means, certainly part of it is if the community of believers finds what you're doing offensive, that can amount to blasphemy. And I think it's pretty clear from the quickness with which they pulled that image down that they recognized, or that he recognized, that was a bridge too far for him. At the same time, then he tried to save himself by saying, well, it's not me being Jesus, I'm a doctor. I thought I was a doctor. Your mileage of that rationale is going to depend probably on your partisan leanings.
I can't imagine anyone advising him to do that. That just doesn't.
So much of what he does lies outside the realm of advice. because, I mean, most of his tweets take place when he's when everyone else is asleep. He tweets at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. I honestly think his decision to attack Iran was outside the normal advisory process. We have a very thorough interagency process where ideas percolate up from issue groups. They go to what is known as a deputies committee. It goes up to a principals committee. It goes to the National Security Council. It's designed to really put training wheels on the presidency, so the president has a range of acceptable options. That process wasn't really at any point engaged. He simply listened to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who's been wanting to attack Iran, who's been wanting U.S. help to attack and to disassemble Iran for probably 30 years.
I didn't intend to do this, but I'm going to put my toe in these waters. I want to talk about the Oklahoma legislature for a moment. I saw yesterday in the paper, the local paper, that there's a move afoot now to help the legislature, to give them the tools to cut the funding for health care for the poorest in the country. Any thoughts on that?
I think that Republicans have been trying to do this again for nearly a half a century. I think that whenever they get to the point where they actually start doing it, they find themselves pulling back. I think if you look at what happened up in Kansas when Sam Brownback was governor, and they did massive cuts to basic infrastructure and the basic health care infrastructure, and even Republicans found themselves aghast at what happens. I think that in many instances what you're seeing are people who are operating on ideology and theory and not really fully working out the consequences.
Not thinking of what the ramifications might be.
Yeah, and then when they see, and they understand that the consequences can be traced back to them, they they start rethinking things.
Say, whoops.
Yeah. So.
We don't want to go there. Do you see a major shift in the upcoming election?
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing shifts really for the past decade. I think Donald Trump's election in 2016 reflected a shift. There was a significant block of voters who just wanted to blow things up, who thought that they think in terms of economics, and we think all the sexy words are disruption. Well, in economics, disruption can be a good thing. It can be innovation. It can be new technologies that are disrupting old ways of doing things and old business models. Disruption in government is simply the destruction of infrastructure, the destruction of institutions that exist for good reasons. They may need to be reformed, but in many instances, just tearing down government for the sake of tearing down government oftentimes strikes me as more nihilistic than anything else. And so I think some people are reckoning with the reality that Donald Trump is an ungovernable force in American politics. I think I think he's lost independence. I think that's one of the reasons why so many special elections have gone to Democrats in this kind of in-between cycle between the 2024 election and the 2026 midterms. And I think, frankly, the 2026 midterms are baked into the cake. I think that at this point, there's nothing that Donald Trump can do right now to get inflation under control. Gas prices are going to continue to be high, and in fact will likely go higher because if the Straits of Hormuz opens today, it will take them months to get transportation back up, to where it was.
Well, and another element that affects anybody who's married, you've got to somehow, I don't know, and my wife and I truly haven't figured out what we're going to do. She wants to vote, and there's a chance she won't be able to because her name changed when she married me.
Sure.
So we've got to figure out how to get that all worked out.
Well, and unless Oklahoma passes some version of the SAVE Act, that's not going to necessarily be the case for this election cycle. President Trump signed an executive order that I don't believe is constitutional, trying to make those kinds of changes. And they're trying, and the House has several times passed what is known as the SAVE Act, which is supposed to, basically eliminate any kind of voter fraud. Well, the voter fraud they're trying to eliminate doesn't exist anyway. There are vanishingly small instances of in-person voter fraud. It's very difficult to do on any scale. And the last time it did happen, it was in 2018 in a rural voting district in North Carolina. And the thing is, the system caught it. The system caught the shift of voting, behavior, and they actually were able to arrest the campaign manager of the Republican, congressional candidate that conducted the fraud. But the problem is, again, Americans have been told for decades that voter fraud is rampant in the United States, that Democrats want to bring illegals into the country to replace legitimate American voters. And so I think the SAVE Act would be vulnerable to constitutional challenge. And again, I hope it doesn't pass. I certainly, at this point, we're entering what is known as the Purcell window, where you can't make certain kinds of changes to voter laws prior to an election. And so again, I agree, and it would be a problem for my wife as well, because she's taken my name, and it's not the same name that was on her birth certificate, and her birth certificate is up in Wisconsin. So
Yeah.
and millions, and I think 29 million women have similar kinds of challenges. And the question is, is this a remedy to an existing problem, or is this simply an attempt to change the electoral dynamics? I would say it's the latter. I think that Republicans are fearful that they're going to pour fairly in these elections, and I think they are trying to lower overall turnout.
Do you think, we got about a minute and a half, do you think there's a chance that the President of the United States will push for a third run at the Roses?
Yeah, I think anything is within his scope. He joked the other day that he would leave the United States and run for president of Venezuela. I don't know. I think there are certainly people around him that want to find a way to get him to a third term. Alan Dershowitz, who once was a lion, of the liberal legal community, wrote a tract saying that he would be eligible for a third term for some reason. I can't remember the rationale, but it struck me when I read it as odd and not particularly legally sound. Because again, the language of the 22nd Amendment is pretty clear. You can only serve two terms or 10 total years in office.
We haven't talked at all, and we don't have time to now, but we haven't talked at all about suggesting shoes that match the president's, makeup to cover problems with your hands, that sort of thing that we're seeing.
He was old. He was the oldest person elected into office, and he has a bad diet. He doesn't sleep. He has all the markers of someone who is under tremendous stress. I don't think he would survive a third term if he could run. I think by year 3 or 4 of this second term, there will be real questions about whether he is still in charge or whether he's been sidelined, because he's acting in increasingly erratic ways.
We're out of time. Thank you again for coming by.
Happy to.
And it's going to happen again. I'm going to knock on your door.
I'll always come.
All right. Good talking with you again.
Thank you.
We're all out of time. Thank you for being a part of it. We'll see you back here, hopefully, next time.